Hello and welcome to another edition of your favorite program. This is iBlogger right here on GBC 24. My name is Jonathan Thompson. Today we're looking at what the youth of Africa are trying to do to help the youth develop. They say we are the backbone of the continent. So what are we going to do as the youth of this continent to actually bring it up to where it really belongs, economically, socially, religiously, politically, religiously, did I mention that? Religiously, and in every facet of humanity. And we have in the studios to do the discussion with me two fine young gentlemen who are actually going places. And I believe you me, we have future ambassadors in our midst. We have future politicians, presidents, of course, future leaders in our midst. We have in the studios the executive chairman of Model Ecowas Summit, and the person of David Osabute, who is on my immediate left in the white t-shirt. And we also have all the way from Zimbabwe, Abiel Mawere, who is the founder and chairperson of the Zimbabwe Young Ambassadors. Welcome to Ghana.
Thank you so much.
Is this your first time in Ghana?
It is my first time and I really feel honored. I really feel welcomed.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. How long have you been in Ghana?
I've just been, I'm a day old. I landed in Accra yesterday in the morning.
Beautiful.
Yes, so I'm just a day old.
Beautiful. So what have you heard about the youth and the Ghanaian economy?
Okay, for a starter, I think I've done a research before I came and I've discovered that the young people in Ghana themselves, they are very, upcoming. They are very proactive. I have my colleague here, Mr. David, managing to host such a big, momentous and historical occasion. And obviously that is a sign to me that obviously Ghana itself is in a fast growing pace in terms of its economic development, and the youth therefore become key stakeholders and participants in making sure that Africa itself become the breadbasket of the world. Yes. Beautiful.
So you do have a positive outlook.
Yes.
About Ghana.
Yes, I have a very positive outlook, and my colleague here has been taking me around. I've been seeing places, and I think we are more or less the same like Zimbabwe. We are African countries that are fast growing in terms of economic development. Okay. And also I was pleased to notice that there's a lot of entrepreneurship going on in the country, which is something that is very key and important in economic development. So I think that there is a lot of positive remarks that I've seen from the people of Ghana.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yes. As compared to what you have in Zimbabwe.
Yes, obviously there are similarities, but we also have lessons to learn that I've been looking at and saying I need to take this home. And this is also the reason why mainly I had to travel by all means to make sure that I come to Ghana and experience, these diverse cross-cutting of cultures, how you accept, accepted in an environment that is totally different from the region where you come from.
That's right. Yes. Beautiful. It's quite refreshing to actually hear this from an outsider, which means we are not doing bad as well. Yes. We're not doing bad at all. You're a Ghanaian. This is the outlook that the world, or should I say, other African countries have about Ghana. Yes. Do we feel the same in Ghana as touching the youth and the nation as a whole?
Yes, Jonathan. Let me say a very good afternoon to your very supplement viewers. Yes, like he rightly said, I think that Ghana has been doing quite well when it comes to issues of youth development, youth involvement in political and social, cultural issues.
Exactly.
I think that just like you said, the future of the Ghanaian youth is brighter. Not just the Ghanaian youth, but the future of the African youth. So if you look at the ECOWAS Vision 2020 and then the ECOWAS Agenda 2063, there is a focus on issues of youth development across the West Africa sub-region. When you look at ECOWAS Vision 2020, right. And then issues of youth development across the entire African continent, looking at the AU Agenda 2063, and even if you look at it from the UN perspective, there is a major focus on issues of youth development. I remember I think about 2 years or 3 years ago, when the UN was moving towards the sustainable development goals. There were some consultative sections held in Kenya. I had an invitation, but I couldn't go. There were some consultative sections in Kenya to look at issues that should be carried ahead when it comes to the sustainable development goals from the youth perspective. So I think that there's a lot of platforms involving young people in youth involvement in decision making at all levels, policy formulation and
policy formulation. There's been this talk and talk and talk. To me, from where I sit, I always see these things as talk shops and meetings non-end. But when you come to the ground, the reality on the ground, the youth, in some other African countries have been marginalized. Okay, we have high unemployment rate, and the youth are the ones who are affected most. We have political instability in some countries, and this affects the youth most. The youth are used as tools and weapons to carry out, selfish agendas of politicians out there and all of that. So I see all these things as just mere talk and no work. Okay, what do you think of this? You first.
Jonathan, it would amaze you to notice that there are a number of young people, not just in Ghana, but across Africa, who are doing amazing things. But see, I have one challenge. I feel that a lot of the times when our policymakers are deciding on issues that affect the youth, we do not involve them enough. You cannot take a decision that has got to do with a young person if you do not bring them on board. I think that the involvement of the youth on issues of youth, that is where we are not getting it right. But and I meet them every day. I meet a lot of young people every day who are doing amazing things across the length and breadth of this country and across the length and breadth of the entire African continent. That's right. So it is not just talk show, but there are a lot of young people who are doing things that even your cameras at GTV24 hasn't captured them. There are a lot of young people. You should bring them out into the light. Why is that? You remember when President Obama, former President Obama, yes, he was airlifting young people from across Africa every year into the US for 8 weeks. That's right. Why? Because he feels that and he understands that the young people of Africa, they have something that needs to be nurtured, that needs to be developed. That's why he took that initiative. And I see how many of our African presidents have been bold enough to take such an initiative. But the former president of the United States did that, airlifting young people from across Africa, sending them to the US, developing their capacity for 8 weeks. How many of our African leaders have been able to do that?
Now, Abiel, looking at this issue that he's talking about, I know sometime in Zimbabwe, there was so much advocate for, Zimbabweans who are outside doing well to actually come home and help the economy out there. But then there were some critics that came out saying that this is not being done. You've been deserted in your country by those indigents who are out there in the diaspora. Okay, and they've even forgotten about the youth entirely. The youth have become like, the grass, and the elephants are stepping on you.
Okay. First and foremost, let me say that anything for the youth has to be by the youth, with the youth, and for the youth. Just to support the point that my friend David has just alluded, everything that involves the youth has to be, with the youth right from the inception. You cannot take a child from the next door and expect that child to behave in a family way at a certain level. You have to bring that child from the home. The child has to know the norms, has to know the values.
Exactly.
And for the African youth to be able to defend the sovereignty of the African people. They have to be able to grow within the system. So looking back at our country, exactly like we have rightly pointed out, there has been a call, you know, by the new administration, particularly the president himself, spearheading the agenda of Zimbabwe is open for business. I wouldn't want to lie. There's a positive change in Zimbabwe. My presence here is because the government has actually, you know, supported and approved me through the Zimbabwe Youth Council that we report to be able to come here.
Wow.
So
then you are that influential.
Yes.
That's good.
So that is a stepping stone for our country. Our government is very supportive for the young people, but however, we feel also that there can be some other issues that can be involved, like rightfully he's saying. The governments in Africa needs to recognize that the future of Africa itself is in the hands of the youth.
Of the youth, that's right.
And the youth themselves, like what you have said, I believe that as young people we should be able to disseminate from where we need to be and where we are. You know, we don't want to talk much, but we want to act much. And this is the message to other young people that are watching there from home, to say that do not be used for any political insinuations or political gains, but be able to make sure that your agenda sells through.
That's right.
And you'd find out that in terms of economic development, it is the youth themselves that have got these mindsets of innovation, that have these mindsets of, you know, pursuing the goal that sees Africa going forward. Exuberance. So it is the critical need and call to the you know, highest offices in different countries in Africa, that they need to support the young people, and the young people becomes the, you know, the future and leaders of tomorrow. And they are on the ground. They are the ones that are moving around and seeing what is happening. And if they're included in the policy making, even at the African Union itself, they, you know, we know the procedures that are happening there. You know, there's a call right now on the internet about 300 young people that will be able to you know, be part of the, you know, African Union later in the year. I think it's in September in Ethiopia. So you see, but what we are saying is that we need more support from the government itself, you know, government of different sectors, to be able to foresee our futures, to be able to foresee our dreams coming to you know, to fruition.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's be more practical about this, okay?
Yeah.
There's been so much talk. I just don't like the talk.
True.
I want action. Okay. Let's look at it practically.
Yes.
When you talk about involving the youth in policy making, policy decision makings and all of that, what are we looking at? How involved should the youth be, and what should be their role?
Okay.
Maybe we need to give an action plan or a guideline to those policymakers out there, so that they can follow.
Okay, first of all, you know, we've got youth that are in different sectors across you know, the entire Africa. We've got youth in mining, we've got youth in farming, we've got youth in politics themselves.
That's right. Like you said, they are doing things.
Exactly, they're doing a lot of great things. So what we're saying is, from the inception itself, the setup of the, you know, the portfolios in different countries, each country's got the way they do their constitution. So, but we are saying from an African perspective, there has to be, you know, a table, there has to be a forum for the young people themselves to be able to air their views, and their views not only become views that are written in a book and then they're kept for archive, but they have to be views that are taken into implementation.
That's right.
For example, we were talking with my brother here of establishing, you know, youth centers across Africa that will cater for young people's, you know, needs. This will be, they will employ young people, because we are going to be doing building, we are going to be doing conference facilities. So young people in different forums are going to be able to benefit from this.
That's right.
So the first thing is that the youth themselves should be given, you know, that fora. In all these forums that happens across Africa, the youth should have their own platform where they meet whenever these, you know, initiatives are being taken, and then their input is actually input in the national agenda of the African economy that falls down within the local, you know, countries. And then from that action, number two, the budget of nations should actually have a serious consideration of the young people.
Right.
Because you'd find out that young people, in most cases, they are not budgeted for. They are not included in the budget. They just come as a secondary issue, and they say, we want to support the young people, where can we find money? And they're looking around all over. And this is the reason why you then find these young people caught up in this political chaos. Because they need the money to pursue their dreams.
That's right.
But where do they get the money? There's no way. And who's offering the money is the politician.
That's right.
So the hand that gives cannot be beaten. So this
desperation
is
sets in.
You see, this is where the chaos starts. So this is why I'm saying the second stage, the governments needed to facilitate funds for the young people. They need to set up funds that they in Zimbabwe. Fortunately, we have what we call the youth fund, where young people are given fund to go and pursue. You present your proposal, and they go through the process, criteria selection process, and then you're selected.
Anybody can access it.
Anybody can access it. It's open to everyone. You just need to come with a clean proposal and defend it,
really?
and be able to be accountable for that money. Because the other issue also that goes back to the other young people that we are representing here is that us as young people, sometimes we then tend to abuse. Some are given the money, they go to marry. Some are given the money, they go to abuse it. So it is also the accountability aspect that also comes with us as young people.
That's right.
And this is also one thing that I also think that as young people we're speaking even in this summit to say, guys, we are pushing agendas, but we are also accountable. And then the last thing that I think the African setup needs to do actually is to come up with forums and platforms for young people themselves to be able to express their views and their things on their own.
Isn't it the same as a talk shop? Isn't it the same talk shop thing, traditional, conventional way of going about it? Too much talk.
No, the reason why I'm saying this is because you'd find out that when we're dealing with elders, we have to go by what they believe in. You cannot go to your father and say, Father, I have this vision. I want to change this direction of the house. The way you build the house is wrong.
You need guidance.
You need guidance. So these these leaders, the African leaders we're proud of them. They've done well, they've done immensely, and they're showing us the way. But we cannot go to them and start demanding. We've got to come with the resolutions, we've got to come with these conferences where we sit down and we come up with petitions, we come up with suggestions that we'll take to them and say, this is what we've agreed as young people.
That's right.
And say, this is why we will never run away from the talk itself. But like I was telling my colleague earlier in the morning, that we have come up to a point as young people in Africa that we have saying, enough is enough. We've talked too much. It's time to act.
Exactly.
So that's our mantra.
Enough is enough. It's time to act. I really love that. I really love that. Now, so enough is enough. It's time to act. And then we decide to actually do something about it and get the youth involved. I asked you the same question I asked him. What are the practical steps we can take to actually get the youth involved in policy decision makings and also to act?
So, Jonathan, will you be surprised if I told you that when it comes to ECOWAS, so the month of May every year is declared as what we call the Regional Integration Month. And then on the 28th of May of every year, that's what ECOWAS is held.
That's right.
Would you be surprised if I told you that across all the ECOWAS countries, there's no activity that goes on?
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
As compared to the day set aside for the AU, where there's a flag raising ceremony and all that. But when it comes to ECOWAS Day, nothing happens. So as part of the practical things we're doing, we're saying that on the day of ECOWAS or the ECOWAS Day, there has to be a series of activities. Then if you look at it from the AU level, we have what we call the Charter on Youth, the Youth Charter, which actually all the national youth authorities across the entire African country are supposed to have national authority, and that is supposed to represent or be the voice of the young people. That is supposed to contain policies, conventions, agreements on issues affecting the youth. You get that?
That's right.
My issue.
How many people know about it?
How many people even know? So there's one. Access to information. We don't even know. We don't even have the political will to implement the recommendations or whatever convention is contained in this national youth charter.
Who bails the cat?
Who bails the cat?
Who should take that responsibility up?
Well, it's a collective responsibility. It has got to do with the old and the young. That is why I think now, for now, as young people, we have realized that we have to stop focusing on the older generation and focus on ourselves and the younger generations.
Wow. That like goes contrary to a little bit of what he said about seeking guidance from your father.
Yes.
To implement something.
We seek guidance from them. So we sit with them.
Okay.
Consultative sections. We consult with them. As you know, your father is youthful at a certain stage in his life. At a point in time, he becomes very, very old. and he can't even move his legs. What do you do?
That's right.
Do you throw your hands in despair, put your hands on your head and cry? You need to get the mantle running, and that is what we want to do.
Hence the Model Ecowas Summit.
Exactly, yes.
Hence the Zimbabwe Young Ambassadors.
Yes.
Before we come to the Model Ecowas Summit,
Yes.
this is the third
edition. Yes.
edition. Yes. But Young Ambassadors, you've been in the system for a while.
Yes.
Beautiful. You've held some fora here and there. You've held some summits here and there where you've engaged some people
Yes.
in top positions
Yes.
here and there. Tell us about the Zimbabwe Young Ambassadors' achievements and what you've been able to do so far.
Okay. So Zimbabwe Young Ambassadors is platform for young people, for the youth themselves. The main reason why we didn't put the youth aspect and we put the young is because we believe that you might be yourself, you might be saying you are no longer a youth, but you feel that you are young to be able to
so young and not young in mind.
The youth themselves, yes. So it's a platform for young people, for the youth that are ready to take the mantle and move forward. So Zimbabwe Young Ambassadors is a forum that was established in 2009. It was officially registered with the Zimbabwe Youth Council under the Ministry of Youth in Zimbabwe in the year 2014, and we've been doing quite a lot. Currently, we are involved in a 1 million paid campaign where we are working with the junior councillors in the country, particularly the Harare in the capital, where our target is to raise 1 million pads for women. We are going to distribute. We have already started distributing. Currently, we have about 5,000 pairs in stock that we will be distributing by month end of June. We're expecting 14,000 pairs from a well-wisher from the UK who saw the advert on Facebook, and they loved it, and we're doing the paperwork so that we get them free duty. And we are also working with quite a number of organizations in terms of youth participation in the development of the economy. We are working with organizations like Zimbabwe Youth China Forum, which is founded and chaired by Ambassador Brian Mudumi, who is doing quite well in terms of involving the youth in terms of economy. He was in China recently on an invitation to try and see the opportunities that are there of young people. So we're doing quite a lot. Last year, but one, and that was in 2016, the end of 2016, we held a regional youth leadership summit for our region, where we had the youth that came up, and we had youth that were in business. We're encouraging the issue of entrepreneurship. And I can actually testify to say that we have 3 young people that have actually started their business that are growing very fast. One of them is actually trying to branch into the next country by the end of 2 months. He's venturing, opening a branch there. So we're quite doing well in terms of projects, in terms of actually walking the talk. So that is mainly about the Zimbabwe Young Ambassadors. Then in terms of criteria, we work with young people that are in different forums. We work as long as you're able to defend the cause of you being able to defend the cause of African development. We're looking very happy to work with you. So this is how our setup is like, and we have a hard-working team of young people that work throughout the night to make sure things happen.
So you as part of your objectives, you have one there, networking, creating a network of youth, creating associations.
Yes, exactly.
How do you intend to do that?
For associations, I think we've already taken step number 1. I think we're almost on step number 2 to number 3. I'm here physically for the third Model Ecowas Summit, from the invitation that we got from Mr. David. This shows you that we are not joking, we are not just talking, but we are working the talk.
Exactly.
I took a 10-hour flight to come to Ghana, and there are so many commitments that would have been happening in Zimbabwe. But because we are ready to walk the talk, we are here, and we are moving forward, and we are creating networks in terms of coming up with resolutions and solutions that will see the young people going forward.
Beautiful.
So we've given ourselves not only in terms of in terms of just talking, but we've given ourselves in terms of our time, in terms of our resources to be able to work this for the cause of African development with youth itself.
Beautiful. Yes. I like that spirit. I like that spirit, and I hope it will keep on. These kind of summits are organized year in, year out, year out. But then, like I said, it always ends up becoming just talk. tell us about the Model Ecowas Summit.
Model Ecowas Summit, okay. So Jonathan, did you know that if you wanted to travel from the Gambia to Ghana by road, it's 5 days?
5 days?
Yes, by road.
Okay, I haven't been to Gambia. The Gambia?
Yes, the Gambia. It's 5 days. Okay. So if you look at the West Africa, and you know, the Model Ecowas Summit is also enhancing the ECOWAS regional integration. And you know, when it comes to issues of regional integration, we're looking at economic integration, which is geared towards a single market, issues of trade, import and export. And then we also look at the political aspects of integration, where we're looking at common currencies, common policies on education, health, policing,
trade and all that.
So basically, that's where the Model Ecowas Summit comes in, where we are exposing young people to ECOWAS operations, ECOWAS related. What are some of the prospects, opportunities, and the challenges?
Okay.
And how do we team up as young people to overcome some of these challenges?
Okay.
Currently in the Gambia, they don't have a national airline. They used to have one called the Gambia Bird, and the Gambia Bird used to do a straight flight from Gambia to Ghana. Currently, it has ceased operations. Yeah, so
if you have to travel by road.
Exactly, you have to travel by road, and that will take you 5 days.
Wow.
So if I had, say, boxes of tomatoes from Ghana, I wanted to take to the Gambia, I would have to do it by road. That would take me 5 days. If we fixed the issue of the airline. And you should note that traveling across Africa and West Africa is very expensive. Very, very expensive. He spent 10 hours on a flight from Zimbabwe to Ghana. Why? Because he couldn't get a straight flight.
Is it that expensive?
Very, very expensive. Yes.
Traveling across, okay, let's limit it to West Africa.
Because I have a gentleman who is coming from Liberia. He's struggling on getting a straight flight from Liberia to Ghana, and he's spending over $800 on just air tickets. That's quite expensive.
There isn't that much from here to, let's say, Nigeria, from here to other African countries around that, Senegal.
But you should also understand
because
that you should also understand that we don't, well, per the time I checked, I don't know if it's changed, but I know that we have only one airline that does Accra to Abuja. All other flights does Accra to Lagos.
Lagos, yeah.
Yes. So it means that, and then you know all the transportation companies in Ghana that does Accra to Nigeria. Their last stop is just Accra